Ruthlessly adhering to their mutant control directive, they had crushed any and all resistance, destroying large swaths of cities to root out their enemies, and leaving the rest lawless ruins. The majority of mutants were dead, and most of the rest had been relegated to the South Bronx internment camp that Kate was returning to now. There weren't enough mutants left to make a difference to their own fate. At least, that was how it seemed most of the time. But maybe they were about to do something about that. She didn't dare hope exactly, but for the first time in 10 years, Kate could conceive of hope. The plywood sheet under her foot gave and tilted, spilling her not into a hole, but down a steep ramp into darkness. She tumbled and landed hard, realizing that she'd walked into a trap, and in rogue territory, that could mean only one thing. The three men looking at her from the other side of the room were rogues, and she was in a lot of trouble. It was some kind of living space, with filthy mattresses along the walls. The three men stood looking at her with malevolent glee, around a tabletop covered with the remains of 1,000 melted candles. The walls were lined with rusted and bent metal shelving units, some of which still had ancient canned goods on them.
Hey, look what we got here.
The rogues were known to costume themselves in outrageous ways. This one wore a mohawk, feathers in his hair, and face paint. He was flanked by a Mad Hatter and a bedraggled-looking frontier type, both with clubs.
Oh, little mutie tripped and fell. What are you doing out of the camp, little mutie?
Sentinel business.
It was true, not that it would do any good. She was returning from a delivery. She had permission from the Sentinels. What she had delivered were samples of mutant tissue. Where she had delivered them was an experimental facility built into what had once been a science lab at Hunter College. It was still a science lab, but the people working there now weren't professors. They were handpicked by the Sentinels for two qualities: scientific expertise and hatred of mutants. The latter was a quality the rogues shared. All three of them were looking at her throat, exposed when her coat had come open during her tumble down the ramp. The Mad Hatter stepped forward.
Inhibitor Collar says you're fair game, little mutie.
All three men closed a ring around Kate.
And even if you are on Sentinel business, we hate them almost as much as we hate you.
Beg all you want, sweetheart. Scream all you want. Even if people hear, no one's coming to help you. You're gonna be a long time dying, mutie.
Maybe so, Kate thought, but she wasn't going to just let it happen. Expecting her to be cowed, Mohawk came a little too close. Kate snapped a straight kick right up into his gut. Mohawk doubled over, dropping to his knees. These sounds came from somewhere in the darkness, beyond the reach of the candles on the table. Were the other two fighting over something? Over her? Kate scrambled backward away from Mohawk.
Bravo! George! Get her! Hold her! I'm gonna flay this mutie alive!
No, you're not, bub.
And from the darkness stepped Logan.
You're gonna step back from the lady, or join your two pals here in the land of traumatic brain injuries.
Relief crashed over Kate. He'd tracked her, he must have. But had the Sentinels tracked him? If he hadn't used his claws, they wouldn't have noticed any mutant activity, unless they'd developed some new surveillance tech. She didn't know. They were always creating new ways to find and kill mutants, and mutant sympathizers, or anyone else they thought might oppose their plans.
You giving Big Alex orders? On his own turf? Is that what you're doing, short stuff?
Big Alex drew a knife.
Cool. I like to earn my fun. You want the little mutie, old man? You come get her.
If you say so. But don't say I didn't warn you.
Oh, ah!
Kate's heart had jumped into her throat when she'd seen Logan's hands drop to waist level and his fists turn over, just as they always had right before he unsheathed his claws. But this time, he hadn't done that.
You okay, Kate?
I'm fine. But calls this close, I can live without.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He looked up the ramp and listened for a moment.
Come on, let's roll.
When they were out on the street again, Kate started to relax. At least as much as a mutant in New York under Sentinel control could ever relax.
So tell me, Colonel Logan, how's life in the Canadian Resistance Army?
Thrill a minute, darling. The word from London is that everything's on automatic. The minute the Sentinels start to move out of North America, every nuclear power is gonna launch a full-scale strike.
Then it's up to the X-Men.
It felt good to say that.